Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Graham Noble, Jim Fight, Dave Patterson, and Andrew Moran. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. After months of hinting and outright threatening to oust Speaker Kevin McCarthy, the deed was finally done. Matt Gaetz of Florida made good on his word. The motion to vacate passed, with the United Front of Democrats joining 8 Republicans. It was a historic first for the U.S. Congress, but as wild as the circumstances were surrounding the process, McCarthy seemed unruffled as he answered questions from reporters about an hour after. I personally think the Republican Party is on the ropes with this move, but I'll defer to Graham on what this means moving forward.
Well, so yes, on Tuesday, October 3rd, McCarthy was ejected from the speakership by a vote of 216 to 210. And as you said, first time in history. I think we should remember that when McCarthy was elected to the speakership back in, I think, January, it took 15 rounds of voting to get him in. So it's not like he was ever, a overwhelmingly popular choice for the gavel. And it's kind of difficult. I think the whole brouhaha that this is kind of thrown the Republican Party into chaos is maybe a bit overstated. Certainly, it's thrown the House into temporary disorder. Patrick McHenry, who was a representative, an ally of McCarthy's, actually, essentially was his number two, you could say. He's taken over as the Speaker pro tem. And I thought it was interesting that one of the first things he did was to tell Nancy Pelosi to get out of her office in the Capitol. So good for him with that one. Really, Gaetz is not exactly popular these days. He's not on too many Christmas card lists with the Republicans in Congress. I think the worst thing you could say about this, actually, is that maybe it was bad timing. I mean, right now, the House is still struggling to pass appropriations bills. They've got a deadline coming up, which is they've more or less got about another 4 weeks to fund the government. So not good timing. But also, 7 other GOP representatives did vote along with Gaetz to remove McCarthy. And basically the accusations against him are essentially that he's kind of too willing to make deals with the Democrats, basically, particularly on things like Ukraine funding. Is this a gift to the Democrats? Well, one thing I would have to say is that, okay, there's going to be a new speaker within a week, and probably within about 3 to 4 business days, they'll probably elect a new speaker. But why did all the Democrats vote to get rid of McCarthy? I mean, it's not like they've dealt the GOP some kind of like fatal blow in doing this. It's just a temporary setback. But I think if anyone's going to point fingers at anyone else and say, well, you've caused chaos, you've upset everything, the House can't function, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you could blame Gaetz for that, but you could just as equally blame every single Democrat who voted to get rid of McCarthy, because they didn't vote on their individual preferences about McCarthy. They voted because they were told to. And last point is, well, we don't know exactly when there'll be a new speaker. That's still a bit up in the air, but it's going to be within about the next, 5 to 7 legislative days.
Well, hopefully it won't take 15 votes to get the next person in. Jim, I mean, did you really see any of this coming? I honestly thought, they'll just, go away, or the Democrats will save him, because he works pretty well with the Democratic side of the aisle. And I really thought, I don't see this happening, but I was very wrong. It happened.
I saw only 2 possibilities. The first possibility is exactly what we got. McCarthy's out. There were too many that opposed him to begin with. There were too many that voted against this latest CR. That there would be at least 5 Republicans vote to vacate him was never a doubt in my mind. Once the motion was called, it was going to happen. And even if it didn't happen the first time, all Gaetz had to do was just wait until the next legislative day and introduce the motion once again. So it's a war of attrition. Eventually, he was going to be ousted. The only other possibility I ever saw was that the Democrats would save him, which would be, I don't know if that's good or bad, depending on your perspective. It's bad for McCarthy and his, his credentials as a conservative if the Democrats bail him out. And it, it makes you wonder what deals would have to be attached to that. So, I mean, I don't know what would have been a worse outcome, McCarthy being ousted or McCarthy being saved by the Democrats.
I miss the days when the Republican Party was united. Dave, I know you remember those days as well as I do. I mean, we used to have presidents and speakers that would actually work together and try to get stuff done back in those glory days of the Reagan years. But I don't know. I just think the Republican Party is a hot mess right now. What do you think, Dave?
I think that's an accurate assessment. But I think it's more that way because you have people who are, and I won't say they're ultra conservatives. They're as much a fringe group for the Republicans as the squad is for the Democrats, and it's debilitating for getting anything done. And if they want to point fingers, incidentally, my congressman was one of them. Then look at the amount of time they've had since the budget came across from the Department of Defense to actually do their job and pass an appropriations bill, and they failed to. And yet they grouse at McCarthy for saving them one more embarrassment of shutting down the government. There's only been one person who has managed to survive shutting down the government, and that's Trump, and that's because he didn't care. And he got what he wanted in the end. And these 8 decide to take out McCarthy, while at the same time, McCarthy got the $8 billion out of the CR that they wanted out. They just can't take yes for an answer.
I'd like to jump in there real quick.
Please do, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, Dave's exactly right on the whole CR thing, and that's what it comes down to. Congress is not doing their job. It shouldn't take 71 pages to fund the government for 45 days. And when you've got all stinking year to do it, it shouldn't take numerous CRs to fund the government.
Remind our audience what CR is, Jim.
They haven't actually, Congress hasn't
funded resolution.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Continuing resolution. My bad. Yeah, Congress hasn't fully funded the government without a continuing resolution since 1997, and they've only done it like 3 or 4 times since the 70s. So it's not even new, and it shouldn't be news to anyone that this is the case.
Well, Andrew, you don't really have a dog in the fight, but I bet you have an opinion on this.
Yeah, so I've been seeing like a potted plant this whole time, so I'll make a couple of points. First, I need to push back on this idea that the Republican Party is not unified. 94% of the Republicans supported McCarthy as a House Speaker in that vote. It was just those 8 individuals. Number 2, Representative Thomas Massey, who's probably the most libertarian-leaning Republican right now in Congress. He came out in support of Kevin McCarthy, saying how he's decentralized power and he's done a good job and he's done a much better job than his predecessors. And even Matt Gaetz, he was on Tim Pool a few months ago and made that exact point that Kevin McCarthy has done a better job of heeding to what those hardline conservatives have suggested. Second of all, when it comes to Democrats, President Joe Biden, he keeps talking about the MAGA Republicans and how dangerous they are to democracy. Yet those Democrats supported those MAGA Republicans. So I don't get that part. But third, chaos in Washington is good. I don't like unity. When there's chaos in Washington, that means there's less time. These legislators can legislate, the public's life even worse than they're doing right now. So the more infighting there is, better it is for the American people. At the same time, I don't know much what this accomplishes for at least for those 8 Republicans and the hardline conservatives, because ousting McCarthy will not achieve those goals of reining in the $33 trillion national debt or getting those single subject bills. So overall, this is probably just political theater. It's fun. I love the popcorn, but overall, doesn't much. Won't accomplish the long-term goals for these MAGA Republicans.
Who do you guys think will be the next speaker and why? Dave, let's start with you.
I think that I think it's going to be between Congressman Jordan and Congressman Scalise. I think they have the most gravitas amongst the those that are eligible and who want to do it. That's the key. So those would be my choices.
Jim?
Yeah, I figure Scalise. The only thing really working against his favor is his health issues.
Graham?
Well, I hate to agree with everybody else, but yeah, it is between Scalise and Jordan. I think personally, I would rather it be Scalise, if only because the Speaker of the House does not hold a position on any of the committees, and Jim Jordan is doing a good job on the House Judiciary Committee, and I kind of like him to stay there.
All right, Andrew, we'll give you the tie-breaking vote.
I'm
Maybe
going
you can
out on a
pick
limb.
some random person out of a hat.
I'm going out on a limb. I'm going to say it's going to be Donald Trump as Speaker of the
Lord.
House. I'm going to go on a limb.
I don't know.
His
They're
name
finally
had been
building
before.
this
John
wall.
Quincy Adams can do it. Donald Trump can do it too.
Yeah, Biden's building the Trump wall now, so you got to love it.
I actually thought Andrew would give us Trudeau so he could get rid of it.
Oh, so we can invite some more Nazis to give speeches and give them standing ovations and stuff.
Yes, let's do that. I think that will be fun. I don't know. This whole thing, is this indicative of a party in crisis, a country in turmoil even, or just the new normal in American politics? We'll keep you posted. Thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for Free Thinking, Free Speech, LibertyNation.com.
Don't get caught up in the media madness. Join our movement for free thinking and free speech at LibertyNation.com. Publishing news and analysis 24/7 with original articles by our team of authors who tell it like it is. Join us each week for online TV shows, The Uprising Podcast, and Liberty Nation Radio. We believe in free thinking and free speech. We are LibertyNation.com.